My name is Victoria Lee Barnett. I'm 29 years old, and exactly 47 minutes after my mother-in-law told me, "This house is too good for you," I pulled out the property deed with my name on it and handed her a formal 30-day eviction notice. The words hit me at precisely 6:23 p.m. on a Tuesday evening in March, right in the middle of what was supposed to be a casual family dinner. "This house is too good for you, Victoria," Patricia said, dabbing her mouth with a linen napkin like she'd just commented on the weather. "Robert worked so hard for this. You just got lucky marrying him." I set down my fork carefully, watching the small piece of roasted chicken slide off the tines. My husband Robert sat frozen beside me, his face turning an interesting shade of pale. His father, Douglas, continued cutting his steak like nothing had happened. And his sister, Vanessa, actually smirked into her wine glass. "Excuse me," I said, my voice remarkably steady. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, don't be so sensitive, dear. I'm simply saying that Robert deserves someone who matches his caliber. Someone with background, breeding." That's when I excused myself from the table, walked directly to our home office, and pulled out the folder I'd been keeping locked in my desk drawer for exactly this kind of moment. Before I explain what happened next, let me know where you're viewing from, and hit subscribe if you've ever been underestimated by your own family members who had no idea what you were actually capable of achieving. To really understand why Patricia's comment was the final straw that broke everything, you'd have to go back exactly 6 years to when I first met Robert at a charity gala in downtown Portland. I was working as a junior architect at Morrison & Associates, wearing a dress I'd saved 3 months to afford, nursing a single glass of champagne to make it last the whole evening. Robert was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested when I talked about my work designing affordable housing projects. What I didn't know then was that his family had already decided who he should marry. Her name was Clarissa Pemberton, daughter of the Pemberton Hotel's dynasty, a woman who'd been groomed since birth to marry well and host charity luncheons. When Robert announced he was dating me instead, a girl whose father drove a delivery truck and whose mother cleaned houses, Patricia nearly had a stroke. Our first family dinner was a disaster I should have recognized as a warning sign. Patricia asked about my people within the first 5 minutes, her tone suggesting she expected me to name-drop Kennedys or Rockefellers. When I mentioned my dad worked for UPS and my mom had her own small cleaning business, the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. "How quaint," Patricia said, her smile so tight it looked painful. "Blue-collar work is so honest." Douglas barely acknowledged my existence, asking Robert about quarterly projections while I sat there invisible. Vanessa, who was 23 and had never worked a day in her life, asked me if I knew what escargot was. When I said yes, and described the preparation method I'd learned working at a French restaurant through college, she looked disappointed. But Robert seemed different from his family. He defended me that night, held my hand under the table, told me later that his parents would come around. "They're just old-fashioned," he said. "They'll see how amazing you are." I wanted to believe him. I really did. The second incident happened 6 months into our relationship. Patricia invited me to lunch at her country club, just the two of us. I actually thought it might be an olive branch, a chance to bond. Instead, she spent 2 hours dissecting everything from my education, state school instead of Ivy League, to my career. Architecture is so masculine for a woman, to my family background. "I'm not saying you're not a lovely girl," she said over her Cobb salad, "but you have to understand that Robert comes from a certain world. A world with expectations. Standards." "I'm aware," I replied carefully. "Are you, though?" She leaned forward. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're a pretty face who saw an opportunity. Robert is set to inherit considerable wealth. The family business alone is worth millions. I'm just concerned about your motivations." I should have walked out. Instead, I sat there and took it, smile frozen on my face, because I genuinely loved Robert and stupidly believed that proving myself would eventually win them over. The third blow came when we got engaged. Robert proposed on a beach in Maui, beautiful and romantic and everything I dreamed of. But when we flew back and announced it to his family, Patricia actually cried, and not happy tears. "Robert, can I speak with you privately?" she asked, not even trying to hide her distress. They disappeared into Douglas's study for 47 minutes. I counted. When Robert emerged, He looked shaken but determined. "We're getting married, Mom. With or without your blessing." Patricia turned to me, her expression cold. "I hope you understand what you're taking on, Victoria. This family has a legacy to maintain." The wedding itself was a masterclass in passive-aggressive behavior. Patricia insisted on inviting 300 guests, mostly her friends who I'd never met. She tried to veto my wedding dress choice as too revealing when it had a perfectly modest neckline. She made pointed comments about the cost of everything, even though she and Douglas were paying, and clearly resented every dollar spent on me. My best friend Riley, who'd known me since college, pulled me aside during the reception. "Vic, are you sure about this? His family treats you like you're contaminated." "Robert's not like them," I insisted. "But he doesn't stand up to them either," she pointed out. "He lets his mother talk to you like that." I didn't want to hear it then. I was in love, optimistic, convinced that time and effort would change things. After the wedding, things got progressively worse in ways that were harder to pinpoint but impossible to ignore. We moved into a beautiful 4-bedroom house in the West Hills that Robert said he bought for us. Patricia immediately started redecorating without asking, replacing things I'd chosen with items from her own collection. "This is more appropriate for the neighborhood," she'd say, removing my grandmother's quilt from the living room and replacing it with a sterile beige throw that cost $800. She had keys to our house and used them freely, showing up unannounced at least 3 times a week. I'd come home from work to find her rearranging kitchen cabinets or going through our mail. "I was just helping," she'd say when I protested. The house was such a mess. The house was never a mess. I kept it immaculate specifically to avoid her criticism. Douglas started involving Robert in the family business more heavily, requiring him to travel extensively. This meant I was alone with Patricia's intrusions, even more frequently. Vanessa began dropping by to use our pool, bringing friends who'd leave wet towels everywhere and treat me like hired help. "Could you grab us some more rose?" she asked once, not looking up from her phone. "The bottle in the fridge." "I'm not your server, Vanessa," I said. She blinked at me. God, so sensitive. I was just asking. But the real breaking point started building exactly 18 months ago, when Robert's business trips became more frequent and longer. He'd be gone 2, sometimes 3 weeks at a time. During one of these absences, I came home to find Patricia had hired contractors to renovate our master bathroom without consulting me. The invoice I found later showed she'd spent $8,247 on marble tile and fixtures I never approved. Robert mentioned the tiles were outdated, she said when I called her, furious. "I'm doing you a favor." "This is my house," I said. "Actually," she replied, her voice dripping with condescension, "it's Robert's house. You just live here." That comment lodged in my brain like a splinter. That night I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2:30 a.m. and went to our home office, pulling out all our financial documents. I needed to see exactly what was in my name, what was jointly owned, what was actually mine. What I found made my blood run cold. The house deed listed Robert as the sole owner. Our joint checking account, which I'd assumed was equal, had Robert's name listed first with me as an authorized user. Even the car I drove every day was registered only to Robert. On paper, I owned nothing. I was a guest in my own life. For 3 solid days, I felt like I was drowning. Then I got angry. I called Riley, who'd married an attorney. She connected me with Marcus Chun, a family law specialist who agreed to meet with me confidentially. "You need to protect yourself," Marcus said after reviewing what I'd brought him. "Legally, financially, emotionally. This power imbalance isn't healthy." "Robert wouldn't use it against me," I said, but I sounded uncertain even to myself. "Maybe not," Marcus agreed. "But his family would, and right now they have all the power." That conversation changed everything. Over the next 6 months, I quietly started building my own foundation. I opened a separate bank account and began depositing a portion of my paycheck there. I updated my professional portfolio and started networking more aggressively. I documented every intrusion, every insult, every overstep from Patricia and the family. I started keeping a detailed log. Every time Patricia showed up unannounced, I noted the date, time, and what she did. When she rearranged my kitchen on February 14th at 11:30 a.m., I photographed it. When she brought her interior designer through our bedroom on March 3rd without permission, I documented it. When Vanessa texted me at 9:47 p.m., demanding I pick up her dry cleaning, I screenshot it. Within 4 months, I had 47 documented intrusions. 47 times they'd violated our boundaries, treated our home like their property, treated me like their servant. And then 8 months ago, I did something that would ultimately save me. I inherited money from my grandmother's estate. Not a fortune, but $127,000 that was mine alone. My mother suggested I tell Robert and add it to our joint accounts. Instead, I listened to Marcus. "Keep it separate," he advised. "And whatever you do, don't let his family know about it." I invested it quietly, working with a financial advisor Riley recommended. Within 6 months, smart investments and my own continued savings brought my personal account to $198,463. More than enough for a down payment on my own property if I ever needed it. But I never expected to actually need it. I kept believing that Robert and I could work through his family's toxicity together, that our marriage would strengthen, and we'd eventually establish boundaries. Then came the incident that nearly broke me completely. I came home on a Wednesday afternoon, 17 days before the dinner party that would change everything, to find Patricia had given a spare key to a contractor who was measuring our living room for built-in shelving I'd never discussed with anyone. Patricia approved it, the contractor said, showing me the work order. Said she wanted to surprise you. The estimate was $12,850 for shelving I didn't want, in a house she didn't own. That night, when Robert called from Singapore, I finally broke down. "Your mother gave our house key to a stranger," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "This has to stop." "I'll talk to her," he promised. "I will, I promise." But I knew he wouldn't. Or if he did, it wouldn't change anything. That night, I made a decision. I called Marcus Chun and asked him to draft a post-nuptial agreement that would protect my interests. Then I did something more radical. I told Robert the first wanted my name on the house deed. "Why?" he asked, sounding confused during our video call. "We're married. What's mine is yours." "Then prove it," I said. "Put my name on the deed. Make it official." He'd hesitated, and I'd almost backed down. But then he surprised me. "Okay," he said. "You're right. This is our house. Both of ours." 3 weeks later, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, we'd gone to the county recorder's office together and added my name to the property deed as a joint tenant with right of survivorship. Robert signed the papers without his parents knowing, without their approval, in what I thought was a genuine gesture of commitment to our marriage. I'd kept that updated deed in my desk drawer, along with all my other insurance policies for this relationship. Now, standing in our office while his family sat in our dining room insulting me, I pulled out my phone and took photographs of everything. The deed, the logs, the 47 documented intrusions, the evidence of my separate financial account, everything. Then I walked back to the dining room. They were still sitting there, Patricia looking smug, Robert looking miserable, Douglas bored, Vanessa scrolling on her phone. "I need to show you all something," I said calmly. I pulled out my phone and projected the property deed onto our TV screen using the casting function. The legal document filled the 75-inch display, impossible to ignore. Patricia squinted at it. "What is this?" "The current property deed for this house," I said. "Updated 4 months ago. You'll notice it lists 2 owners, Robert James Barnett and Victoria Lee Barnett, joint tenants with right of survivorship." The room went absolutely silent. "That's impossible," Patricia said, her face draining of color. "Robert, tell her that's not real." Robert cleared his throat. "Actually, Mom, it is real. I added Victoria's name to the deed. This is our house. Together." "You did what?" Douglas's voice was cold, dangerous. "I made my wife a co-owner of our home," Robert said, his voice gaining strength. "Because she is my wife. And this is our home. Without consulting us." Patricia's voice rose. "This house was purchased with your trust fund money. Money that your grandfather left for you. Family money. And I used it to buy a house for my family," Robert shot back. "Victoria is my family." I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he would actually stand up for me this time. Then Patricia turned to me, her expression venomous. "You manipulated him into this. You saw an opportunity, and you took it. You're nothing but a gold digger." And Robert said nothing. The hope died. I didn't manipulate anyone, I said calmly. But since we're discussing manipulation, let's talk about how you've systematically tried to undermine my marriage for 6 years. I swiped to my documentation folder on my phone and began projecting images. 47 uninvited intrusions in 18 months. I documented every single one. Dates, times, photographs. The screen filled with timestamped photos. Patricia rearranging our kitchen. Her designer measuring our bedroom. Her going through our mail at the entryway table. February 14th, 11:30 a.m. I narrated. You let yourself in and reorganized my entire kitchen. March 3rd, 2:15 p.m., you brought your interior designer through our bedroom without permission. April 8th, you spent $8,247 on bathroom renovations I never approved. How dare you? Patricia started. I also have these. I continued, switching to screenshots of text messages. Vanessa's demands that I walk her dog, pick up her dry cleaning, grab her packages. Patricia's emails criticizing everything from my clothes to my career to my family. What are you doing? Douglas asked quietly, his voice tight. I'm establishing a record, I said. Because as of right now, things are going to change. You will return all keys to this house immediately. You will not enter without express invitation from both Robert and myself. You will stop treating me like hired help in my own home. Or what? Vanessa sneered. You'll divorce him and take half? Good luck with that. Or, I said calmly, I'll exercise my rights as a 50% owner of this property and pursue formal eviction proceedings for harassment. Patricia laughed, but it sounded brittle. You can't evict us. We're family. I can evict anyone who harasses me in my own home, I replied. I've already consulted with an attorney about my rights as a property owner. Marcus Chin specializes in property law and domestic harassment cases. Would you like me to call him right now? The laughter died. Patricia looked at Robert. Are you going to let her threaten us like this? Robert looked between his mother and me, his face pale. For a moment, I thought he might actually choose his family over me. Then he surprised me. Mom, Dad, Vanessa, I think you should leave now. Robert, Patricia started. Now, he said firmly. Victoria and I need to talk. Alone. They left in a fury, Patricia slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. But they left their house key on the entry table, which felt like a small victory. The moment the door closed, Robert turned to me. Vic, I'm so sorry. I should have stood up to them years ago. Yes, I said. You should have. I was weak, he admitted. I kept thinking they'd come around, that if I just gave them time. Time for what? I interrupted. Time to accept that you married beneath your station? Time to break us up? Time to make me so miserable I'd leave on my own? He flinched. I love you. I should have shown that better. I will show it better. I wanted to believe him. But 6 years of evidence suggested otherwise. I need some space, I said. I'm going to stay at Riley's for a few days. Don't leave, he pleaded. Please, let's work through this. I am working through it, I replied, by taking time to think clearly about what I want and what I'm willing to accept. I packed a bag and left that night. Robert called 17 times before midnight. I ignored every call. Over the next 72 hours, the situation escalated in ways I hadn't anticipated. Patricia called me from 7 different phone numbers when I blocked her main one. She left voicemails ranging from tearful apologies to screaming accusations. You're destroying my family. One message wailed at 2:34 a.m. Robert is miserable. How can you be so cruel to people who only wanted to help you? Another left at 6:15 a.m. You ungrateful little bitch. You think you can steal my son and kick us out of his life? We'll make sure everyone knows what you really are. Vanessa sent a barrage of text messages throughout the day. You're a manipulative bitch. My brother deserves better than you. Enjoy it while it lasts because we'll make sure you get nothing in the divorce. Douglas, surprisingly, tried a different approach. He sent a formal email at 9:23 a.m. on day 3, offering me $197,500 to sign a post-nuptial agreement waiving all rights to the house and Robert's future inheritance. I forwarded it to Marcus Chun with a single word. Wow. His response came within minutes. Do not respond. This is evidence of financial coercion. Save everything. On day 4, Riley's doorbell rang at 6 a.m. It was Robert, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Please." Riley, bless her, stood in the doorway like a guard dog. "Does she want to talk to you?" I nodded. "It's okay. Let him in." We sat in Riley's kitchen while she made herself scarce, though I knew she was hovering close enough to intervene if needed. "I told my mother she's not welcome in our home anymore," Robert said without preamble. "I told all of them. No keys, no uninvited visits, no interference in our marriage. I should have done it years ago." "Why now?" I asked. "What changed?" "I saw their emails and messages," he admitted. "You forwarded them to our joint account. Vic, I had no idea they were this bad. The things Vanessa said, the money my father offered you, it's disgusting." "You never wanted to see it," I said quietly. "Every time I tried to tell you how they treated me, you brushed it off, made excuses for them." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "I was protecting them instead of you. I was wrong." I sat there, looking at this man I'd married, trying to decide if this change was real or just another temporary promise that would dissolve the moment his mother applied pressure. "I need you to understand something," I said finally. "I will never again be in a position where I have no power in my own life. The house is in both our names because you chose to put it there, but I have my own money now. My own accounts. My own safety net." "I understand," he said. "Do you?" I challenged. "Because your mother was right about one thing, I did get lucky when I married you. Lucky that you have money and security. But you got lucky too. You got a wife who genuinely loves you, not your bank account. Who works hard and contributes and tries to build a real partnership. Don't confuse my love with weakness." He reached across the table and took my hand. "Come home, please. Let me prove that I can be the husband you deserve." I wanted to say yes immediately, but Riley's voice echoed in my head. "He doesn't stand up to them." "I'll come home on one condition," I said. "We go to couples therapy. We work on establishing boundaries together. And the first time you let your family overstep, the first time you don't stand up for me, I'm done. No second chances." "Agreed," he said without hesitation. "Whatever you need." But I wasn't finished. "Not yet. And there's one more thing," I said, pulling out my phone and opening my email. "Marcus is drawing up a formal notice. Your parents have 30 days to return all keys, remove any personal items they've stored at our house, and cease all unauthorized entry. If they violate this notice, we'll pursue trespassing charges." Robert's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Completely," I replied. "This isn't a threat. It's a boundary. And you're going to support it, or we're done." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll support it. I promise." The next morning, Marcus Chun hand-delivered the formal notice to Patricia and Douglas's home in the Pearl District. The document was clear and legally binding. They had exactly 30 days to comply with the terms or face formal eviction proceedings for harassment and trespassing. Patricia called me within an hour, her voice shaking with rage. "How dare you serve us like common criminals? You had 47 chances to respect our boundaries," I said calmly. "This is the consequence of ignoring all of them." "Robert will never forgive you for this," she hissed. "Robert signed off on it," I replied. "He's standing with me. Maybe you should ask yourself why." She hung up without another word. We started therapy the following week with Dr. Sarah Hammond, a no-nonsense counselor who didn't let either of us hide behind excuses. The sessions were brutal, forcing Robert to confront how his family's elitism had poisoned our relationship and making me examine my own complicity in allowing the situation to continue so long. Patricia attempted to interfere exactly once more. She showed up at our house on day 23 of the 30-day notice, claiming she wanted to clear the air and talk like adults. Robert met her at the door. I stood behind him in the hallway, phone in hand with Marcus on speed dial. "Mom, you're not welcome here without an invitation," he said. "Victoria and I discussed this. You received the formal notice." "Don't be ridiculous," she said, trying to push past him. "This is family business." "No," he said firmly, blocking her path. "This is harassment. Leave now, or Victoria will call the police and file a trespassing complaint. You have 7 days left on your notice. Don't violate it." I raised my phone slightly, showing her Marcus's number ready to dial. Patricia stared at him, shock and fury warring on her face. "You're choosing her over your own family?" "She is my family," Robert said. "You're my relatives. There's a difference. And until you can treat my wife with respect, you're not welcome in our home or our lives." She left. The doorbell didn't ring again. On day 30, Douglas sent one final email, formal and cold. "We have complied with your demands. All keys have been returned. We consider this matter closed, and will be limiting contact until you both come to your senses." Robert responded, "That's your choice. Mine is Victoria. Always." Vanessa posted vague social media updates about toxic family members and ungrateful siblings, which I frankly found hilarious given the irony. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted and sad that it had come to this, but I also felt something else, free. Exactly 1 year after that terrible dinner party, Robert and I are still together, still in therapy, still working on our relationship. The difference is that now we're working as a team instead of me fighting his family alone while he watched from the sidelines. His relationship with his parents is polite but distant. They occasionally meet for lunch at neutral restaurants downtown, carefully scheduled encounters with strict time limits. Patricia no longer asks about me. Douglas talks only about business and the weather. Vanessa is still blocked on all our devices and social media. I've been promoted to senior architect at my firm, and am leading a major affordable housing project in Southeast Portland. The work fulfills me in ways I'd forgotten were possible when I was spending all my emotional energy managing Robert's family dynamics. Riley and I have monthly dinners where she reminds me how far I've come. "Remember when you used to cry in my guest room wondering if you were crazy for thinking they were treating you badly," she said recently. "Look at you now. You evicted them from your life." Marcus Chun still handles our legal matters, and I keep all my documentation current and backed up in 3 separate locations. Not because I'm planning to need it, but because I've learned that having power and never using it is better than needing it and not having it. The house is still in both our names. We've redecorated together, removing every trace of Patricia's influence and filling it with things we both chose. The bathroom she renovated without permission got completely redone. I had the $8,247 marble tile ripped out and replaced with subway tile I actually liked. It finally feels like ours. Robert recently suggested we might think about starting a family. I said maybe, but not until I'm completely sure our boundaries are solid and sustainable. He understood. "I don't blame you for being cautious," he said. "I have to keep earning your trust. I'm okay with that." Last month, we were having coffee on our back patio when my mother stopped by with fresh-baked cookies. She's never had a key to our house. She always calls first, always asks if it's convenient, always treats our space with respect. Robert commented on the difference. "Your family just knows how to be family," he said. "No power games. No manipulation. Just love. Love with boundaries," I corrected. "That's the key." Looking back now, I realized that the moment Patricia said the house was too good for me was actually a gift. It forced me to stop being passive, stop hoping they'd change, stop sacrificing my dignity for the sake of keeping peace. It showed me that I could stand up for myself and survive the fallout. The 30-day eviction notice wasn't cruel, it was necessary. It drew a line that had needed drawing for 6 years. It said, "This far and no further." It reclaimed space that should have always been mine. I learned that self-respect isn't selfish, that boundaries aren't cruel, that chosen family, the people who actually show up for you, matter more than biological connections that only cause pain. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. The house is still too good for me, according to Patricia's standards. But those standards valued money over character, pedigree over partnership, appearances over authenticity. By those measures, I'm thrilled to fall short. By my own measures, I'm exactly where I belong, in a home I legally own, with a husband who finally chooses me over his family's approval, building a life that's mine on my own terms. A life where the people who tried to make me feel small no longer have keys to my space, my peace, or my future. Have you ever been told you weren't good enough by people who should have supported you? How did you find the strength to establish boundaries and enforce them? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit subscribe and the notification bell. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so fulfilling that the people who doubted you become completely irrelevant to your happiness. Sometimes it's simply locking the door and keeping the key for yourself.